Right then guys, how's it going and welcome back to Your Football Predictions, the series where you guys go up against me, see who can get the most correct predictions for the upcoming weekend of Premier League football. Now we mixed it up last week and actually did the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and those were my predictions up there. Not great, 0 correct scores. I was right to get 3 correct outcomes. I was right that Man U would beat Norwich, that Arsenal would beat Sheffield United, that Chelsea would beat Leicester. But I was a little bit ambitious with the Newcastle game. And I can tell I've got lots of Newcastle fans on here because there was quite a lot of us who were a little bit ambitious with that one. But as always, you guys did way better than me. We got a load of people who got 2 correct scores, but just one person got 3 correct scores, and that was FIFA Mains. So well done to you, mate. I know you've been putting your predictions on my videos for a long time now, so I really appreciate the support. And as I say, well done to be the winner this week. And remember, if you want to be shouted out in my next predictions video, then be sure to get all of your predictions down in the comments below. But we are back on to Premier League football, which means we have 10 games to predict, so make sure to predict all of them in your comment down below. And as always, we will go through each of the games now. There's actually 2 games on tonight. We actually have Sheffield United versus Spurs tonight and Man City versus Liverpool. So there's 2 great games on tonight. We're not going to be discussing them. We are just jumping straight in to the weekend's football. So you guys have got a couple of days to get your predictions in. So just remember those games are on tonight. If you're making your predictions, it might change what you think might happen at the weekend. Obviously, I've gone for it and made all my predictions already, but just bear that in mind. Watch the football tonight, maybe do your predictions tomorrow. But yeah, we are starting off on Saturday at 12:30 on BT. We have Norwich taking on Brighton. Norwich are currently sitting bottom of the Premier League table, 7 points away from safety, so it's not looking good. I remember when we first came back, I actually said, you know, if they could just get a win under their belt, maybe, because it's so tight down there, you know, and it's still not over yet. 7 points, 2 wins and a draw. They haven't got that many games left, but it's still doable, just not looking good. They've not actually won a game since the return of football, and that includes a 4-0 loss to Arsenal last night. And Brighton, you know, almost the opposite in a way. They are 6 points clear of the relegation zone, and they came back with a bang when the Premier League returned, beating Arsenal, which was a huge 3 points for them, followed by a draw against Leicester. And I know Leicester have been a bit wobbly since the comeback, but that's a fantastic point. And then they lost against Man U 3-0 the other day. But, you know, 6 points clear. I think Brighton are going to be pretty happy with that, and if they can add a few more against Norwich, I'm sure they'll be happy with that too. In terms of a prediction, I mean, Norwich are going to have to start fighting at some point. You know, they're going to have to pick up some points eventually. Maybe this could be the game. This will be one on paper that they've looked at and gone, we need 3 points from this. Maybe they can do it. I don't know. I've gone 1-1. I've gone a bit down the line on that one. Maybe Norwich can grab the first point since the return of football. Next up again on Saturday, but at 3 o'clock, and this one is on Sky Pick, so you can watch this one for free. We have got Leicester taking on Crystal Palace. So Leicester currently sitting in 3rd place, currently 2 points ahead of Chelsea, who are in 4th, and 4 points ahead of Man U in 5th and Wolves in 6th. Again, I remember when I started doing these return to football videos and was basically saying, you know, Leicester are away. You know, they're in 3rd. They're going to get Champions League. You know, they're only 4 points ahead of Man U and Wolves now. You know, they have had a pretty... You know, they're not the greatest of comebacks following the return of football. They drew against Watford, drew against Brighton, and then lost to Everton. And I mean, draws against Watford and Brighton are still points on the board, but I bet they would have had them down on paper as being games they should be winning. And then losing against Everton, you know, they probably would have hoped from a bit more from that as well. So they've always got Vardy. That's the thing. Leicester, when they've got a goal scorer, they can just change things like that. but for whatever reason it hasn't quite been happening yet. Crystal Palace are currently sitting in 12th, middle of the league. They're not getting relegated. Outside shot at Europa League, because everyone in the top half of the table has a shot at the Europa League. Because I talk about being tight down the bottom, literally from 7th place down to 12th place, there's like 2 points difference. It's crazy, to be honest. So who knows how the table will actually end. Crystal Palace's return to football, they beat Bournemouth, lost against Liverpool, and then lost against Burnley the other night, which I think they'll probably be a bit disappointed with. Then going into this game, Leicester versus Crystal Palace. Well, as I say, Leicester, if Vardy wants to turn it on at any time, you know, I'm sure Leicester will be happy if you could get some goals again. If Vardy gets going, then they could start winning games straight away. Crystal Palace have been playing really well, but haven't had the greatest record against the top 4, top 6. So I'm going to back Leicester to get their first win back, 1-0. You know, who knows? What Leicester's going to turn up for this game, I've got no idea. Maybe Crystal Palace will walk in there and win. 1-0 Vardy goal. Next up again on the Saturday, and again at 3 o'clock, but on BT Sport, we have got Man U taking on Bournemouth. So Man U are currently sitting in 5th place and are just 2 points behind Chelsea in 4th place. So we'll talk about teams and their form following the return of football. Man U's haven't been too bad. They started off with a draw against Spurs before beating Sheffield United and beating Brighton the other night. So 7 points off 3 games when all the other teams are all over the shop winning and losing, and they're keeping a pretty solid effort so far. You know, that's why they are just 2 points off 4th place now. And then Bournemouth, unfortunately, have not been on good form, now sitting in 19th place. They are on joint points with Aston Villa, who are in 18th, and just 1 point off Watford, who are in 17th. So, you know, I've been saying this for weeks, you know, they just need a draw, or they just need one win, and it will just push them out of there. But since the return, they have lost against Crystal Palace, Wolves, and now Newcastle following last night's game. So, yeah, you know, I think Bournemouth is generally a team people like. I like Eddie Howe, but in the Newcastle game last night, obviously I watched it. You know, we were good, but it helped that they weren't great. You know, and there are a lot better teams in the league than Newcastle. Trust me. So Bournemouth really need to try and it's not easy. They've got some really tough games, and starting with Man U away is not one of them. So unfortunately, I have backed Man U to win this one 2-0. Next up again on the Saturday, but at 5:30, and this one is on Sky. We have got Wolves taking on Arsenal. So 6th place Wolves taking on 7th place Arsenal. Wolves are currently on joint points with Man U, who are in 5th place, and then are 2 points behind Chelsea, who are in 4th place. So, you know, I think Wolves have put themselves in an extremely good position for Europa League, and, you know, every chance of actually getting Champions League football. If they keep winning their games and let other people do what they're doing, you know, they've got a real good shot. Since the return of football, Wolves' form has been very good. They beat West Ham, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. So you could say, you know, they've had a nice string of games to return there. 3 teams who were actually all down in the relegation fight. But you beat what's in front of you. 9 points from 3 games. You can't get any better than that. And now they're playing Arsenal, who are in 7th place and are 6 points behind Wolves, which means they are 8 points behind Chelsea in a Champions League spot. So, and I say it's very tight up there. 8 points behind Chelsea now. I don't know. I think Arsenal are going to really struggle to grab a Champions League spot. But you know, Europa, and my hair's going crazy because I need a haircut. But Europa League's still up for grabs. And depending on what happens with Man City in the FA Cup and all these other things, it could well drop down to as far as 8th place for Europa League spot. And I think Arsenal are definitely going to end up in that area. Arsenal's form, obviously, they started terribly because they lost against Man City and Brighton, but then they have made a bit of a comeback, beating Southampton and Norwich 4-0 last night. I've just gone and sat on the fence for this one and gone 2-2. Hopefully there'll be a lot of goals. I think Wolves will score goals, and Aubameyang is on form. I'd say Wolves' defence is better than Arsenal's. Yeah, it'll be a close one. Interested to see what your predictions are like for that game. And to finish off the Saturday at 8 o'clock, and again on Sky. So much football this weekend is fantastic, with every game on TV as well. We have got Chelsea taking on Watford. So as I mentioned, Chelsea are currently sitting in 4th place. They are 1 point behind Leicester, who are in 3rd. So every chance Chelsea could actually grab 3rd place. In the return of football, I pretty much said, Leicester have got 3rd place wrapped up. But not anymore, and Chelsea are 2 points ahead of Man U and Wolves. So obviously they want to make sure they stay in that top 4 for the end of the season. And they're going about it the right way because they've had some fantastic results since the return. They beat Aston Villa, they beat Man City, but then last night lost to West Ham with just minutes to go. And we'll talk about West Ham shortly. But a huge win for West Ham in their relegation hopes. And to be honest, has put Chelsea in a little bit of danger coming into this weekend of football. Because if they'd won that game, that would have been 5 points clear of Man U. But now just 2 points. Watford, it's a bit of a different story with them because they are down in 17th place. Just out of the relegation zone by 1 point. So they are going to be clinging onto that point with a lot of hope. Their return form, a great draw against Leicester before losing to Burnley and Southampton. So again, for Watford's relegation hopes, they would have probably had Burnley and Southampton as 2 games that really need to be taken some points from. And they haven't. And now taking on Chelsea. Maybe Watford can gain a bit of confidence in that. West Ham have just beat Chelsea. Watford will be gutted, to be honest, because West Ham are one of the teams down there with them, but have now taken a huge 3 points. Maybe Watford are thinking, well, maybe we can go and do that. But now Chelsea are under a little bit more pressure, and they really need to be winning this one. So I have gone a 2-0 win to Chelsea. Can Watford pull it out of the bag? As I say, West Ham did. Moving on to the Sunday. Start things off at 12 o'clock midday on Sky Pick. So this one is free to watch. We have got Burnley taking on Sheffield United. So Burnley are currently sitting in 9th place, or just 1 point behind 7th place and 7 points behind 6th place. So again, depending on what happens with the FA Cup and Man City and whatever, Europa League is very much within a shout for Burnley. As I say, so is the rest of the table, to be honest. Burnley's form since the return of football, they obviously started off with a very upsetting 5-0 loss to Man City, but then have gone ahead and beat Watford and Crystal Palace. So maybe that 5-0 loss was a huge wake-up call for them. And as I say, those 2 wins have really put them in a good seat for potential Europa League football. And then Sheffield United currently sitting in 10th place. And I spoke about this the other week. Promoted side getting to quarter-final of the FA Cup, challenging for Europa League, even top half. I think the Sheffield United fans would have been buzzing. But it is still, even as a complete neutral, a little bit sad to see how close they were to top 5, and then the return of football just hasn't worked out their way. Since they've come back, they've drawn against Aston Villa, they've lost against Newcastle and Man U, and they play Spurs tonight. They are 2 points off 7th, so it's not like they've dropped way down the league. Hopefully they can pick things up and do something. In this game, however, because of Burnley's pretty decent form and Sheffield United's poor form, I've backed Burnley to win 1-0. Next up on the Sunday at 2 o'clock, and this one is on Sky, we have got Newcastle taking on West Ham. So Newcastle currently sitting in 13th place. Safe Hooray! That was probably the main aim. We've got it. Couldn't do anything against Man City in the FA Cup, which was a bit frustrating. Outside shot at Europa League football, like everyone else in the league. Depending on the upcoming games and results, who knows? Newcastle's return to football has actually been brilliant. 3-0 win against Sheffield United, draw against Aston Villa, and then 4-1 win against Bournemouth last night. So that's not bad going at all, really. And then West Ham, as I say, what a win for them against Chelsea last night. That has put them into 16th place, now 3 points clear of the relegation zone. And I'll be honest with you, I was doing my predictions last night while watching that game, and I actually went 1-0 Newcastle. I mean, we've just come off a 4-1 win. You know, who's to say we can't go out there and do something similar? But dear God, West Ham are going to be buzzing after that win. So who knows? You know what? It's probably going to be 0-0. I think West Ham, you know, where they are in the league, and after a really good win against Chelsea, would probably take 0-0. Just another point on there. And then really for Newcastle, we've kind of done what we wanted. As I say, potential Europa League, but we've got some really tough games. Liverpool, Man City, Spurs. It's going to be very tough for us to get closer up there. So, gone 1-0. Could maybe see a draw coming. Next up on the Sunday at 4:30, we have got Liverpool taking on Aston Villa, and that one is on Sky as well. So Liverpool have won the league, as I said last week. Well done to them. They are actually playing Man City tonight, as I mentioned, so bear that in mind for this game. But as I say, Liverpool have already won the league. The high flying, they're going to want to finish strong, get as many points as they possibly can. And then we've got Aston Villa, who unfortunately are struggling down in 18th place, 1 point away from safety. You know, I keep saying this, these teams down there, but it's just not that easy. You know, it's that collection of teams. I mean, West Ham did it last night against Chelsea, so you can see what a difference it can make if you can pull something off. But unfortunately, I don't think Aston Villa will be able to pull something off. And I've gone 2-0 Liverpool. Could be more, to be honest. Depends what Liverpool do. If they go all out tonight against Man City, they may choose to rest a few players and give some of the other kids a go. So who knows? Maybe Aston Villa could take advantage of that and actually pull something off themselves. If Liverpool are playing a second string team, maybe Aston Villa could nick something. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. 2-0 Liverpool. Next up on the Sunday at 7 o'clock, and this one's on BBC One, so free to air and to watch for everyone. We have got Southampton taking on Man City. So Southampton currently sitting in 14th place, 13 points clear of the relegation zone, very mid-table, potential outside chance at Europa League like everyone else. I mean, I think 14th place might be a bit of a struggle, but they're on some good form. You know, Danny Ings is scoring goals. You never know. Man City currently in 2nd place, and as I mentioned, play Liverpool tonight, so it could be a similar situation if Man City go all guns blazing in this one to try and, you know, pull something over against Liverpool. They may end up playing a second string team in this game, and if that's the case, maybe Southampton have got a chance, because as I say, Southampton have been playing well. Danny Ings has been scoring goals. I wouldn't say Man City have actually got the best defence, to be honest. I think there's some holes to be picked in there, and depending on what players they decide to line up, who knows what could happen. However, I have still backed Man City to win. 2-1 though. A bit closer, maybe an Ings goal for Southampton. But Man City have got so much firepower, and we've seen the results that they've had, you know. 5-0 versus Burnley, 3-0 against Arsenal, all these crazy scores. So, yeah, maybe Southampton can do something, but I've stuck with a City win, 2-1. And to finish things off on Monday night, we have got Tottenham taking on Everton. That's on at 8 o'clock and it's on Sky. And Spurs are actually playing tonight, as I mentioned, against Sheffield United. So bear that one in mind when you're making this prediction. But Spurs are sitting in 8th place, 1 point off 7th, 7 points off 6th, and 9 points off 4th. So Champions League is looking a bit of a doubt for Tottenham at the minute. 1 point off 7th though, and as I mentioned, depending on what happens with the FA Cup and everything, we could end up with 8th place being a Europa League spot. So Spurs could potentially be sat in a Europa League spot as it is. Do they want Europa League football? Probably not. They'd much rather want Champions League, but 3 wins away from it is very far away. In Spurs' last game, they beat West Ham, but obviously we'll have to see what happens tonight against Sheffield United. Everton currently sitting in 11th place, 1 point off 7th. Another team looking to try and get Europa League football. In their form following the return of football, it's been good. They drew against Liverpool, they beat Norwich, and then they beat Leicester last night. Night before. But yeah, not bad going for Everton at all. For a prediction, as I say, Everton have had the better form. I've gone 1-1. I don't know. I could probably go either way, to be honest. I wouldn't say Everton are the favourites despite being on better form. Tottenham have got Harry Kane. They've got Son. They are playing at their own pitch. It's not the same as normal with the home atmosphere, but yeah, I've gone 1-1. Sat on the fence a little bit. And that is it, guys. So those are all of my predictions up there. Be sure to get your predictions down in the comments below. As always, I have listed all of these games in the description, so if it's easier, copy all the games, paste them into the comments, and then add your scores on as well. I will go through all of your predictions before the first game kicks off, which is Saturday at 12:30. So it's Saturday 12:25. I will make a note of all of your predictions and will shout out the winner in my next predictions video, which will be, I think it'll be Monday. Around the same time on Monday, we will do another predictions video for all of the football on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So as I say, get your predictions for all of these games down in the comments below. I will make a note of all of them and shout out the winner on Monday. And yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Drop a like and subscribe if you are new. As I say, so much football going on. Enjoy your weekend. Pub opens on Saturday, so if you manage to get into one, enjoy it. But obviously be safe and take care, because it's going to be very busy, I think, at the weekend. But yeah, thanks for watching as always. Like, subscribe, predictions in the comments, and I'll catch you later.